Alright, hello to my English 102 professor, or anyone else who may have stumbled across this video. My name's Evan Zart, and this is my final project for my English 102 class at Grand Rapids Community College. Today I'm joined by my classmate and my longtime friend, Caleb Faulkner, who I've known since kindergarten. Caleb, thanks for joining me, man. Appreciate it.
It's great to be here, Evan. Glad I can do something.
Awesome. Well, today we'll be discussing something that I don't think really is talked about enough, and that's the issue with the school start time. Specifically, high schools that are starting more around the 7:30 to 8 o'clock a.m. range. I'm just going to come right out and say it. I think that's way too early. Caleb, any initial thoughts on that statement?
I mean, I agree with you as well. It's really early, especially for people who tend to stay up late and don't get enough sleep.
Yeah, Caleb, I totally, I really would agree with that, especially since teens are pretty commonly not getting a lot of sleep. But, what's an argument without any evidence? So, through my research about this issue, I've come across some interesting information. All links, by the way, will be down in the video description, so if you want to check those out, go right ahead. And I'm just going to point a few things out from these sources. And Caleb, feel free to jump in if there's anything you want to say, anything you want to comment on, just go right ahead. Firstly, from an article from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, I'm quoting here, insufficient sleep is common among high school students, meaning less than the recommended 8 to 10 hours per night, and is associated with several health risks such as being overweight, drinking alcohol, smoking tobacco, and using drugs, as well as poor academic performance overall. Also in a study by University of Michigan in 2017, which references a quote by Dr. Galit Dunitz, who is a postdoctoral doctor researcher in urology at U of M. She quotes, "If the bodies don't tell them that they're tired until 11 p.m. or later, and then they have to be at school before 7:30 a.m., many of these teens will experience a chronic sleep debt." I think that's really important to keep in mind along with the circadian rhythm. For those who don't know, the circadian rhythm is, I would describe it as more of a biological clock. It kind of dictates when you feel tired and awake in the day. For teens, it's usually shifted later due to the release of a hormone called melatonin during puberty. So teens aren't just staying late for the heck of it. It's that teens biologically aren't inclined to fall asleep until around 11 p.m. versus adults who begin to tire more around 9 p.m. As a result, teens typically sleep in later, and that's just kind of how it is. Caleb, you got anything to say to that?
I do think you are right with the whole circadian rhythm thing, and it is very important for teens to get their sleep, and I definitely feel like not many people are.
Yeah, I think that their circadian rhythm really isn't something that should be underestimated or kind of brushed off, because it's more of a biological thing rather than a choice. We can't really, teens can't really control it. It's just, it's just what their body does. But another thing I wanted to mention was something that I learned in my research while I was watching a particular TED Talk by a woman named Wendy Troxel, who's actually a sleep researcher. And she quoted a study that stated that putting a newly driving teen behind the wheel after getting 5 hours of sleep or less per night is actually worse than having someone drive with a blood alcohol level above the legal limit. I think that's very serious. And what do you think about that, Caleb?
I do think that it's very serious for this issue, and the sleep kind of dictates how we behave throughout the day, and it really does screw us up if we don't get enough.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with you. Even from a personal standpoint, sometimes I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or I don't got much sleep. I'm groggy, I'm irritable for the rest of the day, and it really does dictate your behavior. But I feel like that's a really serious statement, and it kind of grabs you by the collar a little bit and gives you a bit of perspective on how bad this problem is. There are tens of millions of teens across the United States being affected by this every school day, 5 out of 7 days a week for the majority of the year. I don't think people realize how widespread and important it is. Someone can just say, "Oh, so what? Who cares that they don't get enough sleep? They just ought to get to sleep earlier." Yada yada yada. They can say those things. But I think it's a vital mistake to brush off an issue like that. This has a pretty drastic effect on the general health of teens, their behaviors, their attitudes. Teens are the future. They're going to be in the driver's seat of the entire nation one day. So I think that it's really important that we keep that in mind when discussing this issue. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that I actually did a survey on exactly 100 seniors at our high school, and I asked every one of them if they felt that they had gotten at least 8 hours of sleep that previous night. And not to my surprise, only 9 of them actually said that they had. And I think that kind of gives an idea of the percentage of students that this affects personally. But now, in a more personal matters, Caleb, you and I are both seniors at the same high school, so we've been through this and dealt with it for several years now. But how would you say that our school district start time of around 7:45 has impacted your life personally?
So I do feel like it starts off really early to where you get there around, I don't know, I normally get there around like 7:30ish, and still it's tiring. You don't really wake up till about second or third hour,
Yep,
which is around
agree. Definitely
like
agree.
10 o'clock, 10 or 11.
Right.
So it's definitely impacting everyone, and it just really takes a toll on you after a while.
I mean, you can definitely see it on students' faces in the mornings that they're not there entirely until, like you said, around second or third hour when they actually start waking up. I've definitely had my fair share of experiences. I can actually think of a prime example this year. About 2 weeks ago, actually, I had a track meet out in Fruitport on a Wednesday night, and I remember getting up really early, sitting through all my classes that day, and then getting on the bus to head out to the meet as the school day ended. So we had our meet, and I ran my events, and we did all that, and we didn't end up getting back to the school until about 9:30 p.m., which is pretty late, even for your average sporting event. And I still had a couple hours of homework that I had to slog through before the next day, so I didn't end up getting to sleep probably around 11:30, I think that was. So I only got about 6 hours of sleep until my alarm went off at 5:30 sharp, and I had to get back up again. I felt exhausted that whole day. But I think that's about all I have to say. Caleb, do you think of can you think of anything that I might have missed or anything else that you'd like to say before we end this?
No, I think you brought up a lot of main points that really not a lot of people see, and just glad to be here and take part in this.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you. All right, then I think that's all. That's it for right now. For any of those watching who would like to voice your opinion, or if you have anything to say that you'd like to voice, feel free to do so in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But with that said, on behalf of myself and my co-host Caleb here, thank you for tuning in, and hope you have a great day.